Hello and welcome to my Build With Me video for the Ruined Watchtower. In this video I will go through all the techniques, including all the clips I have filmed while I've been making this model that you see in front of me. This is entirely scratch built, using a number of techniques which I've shown on the channel already, and I hope that you will follow along and maybe even build your own version. And at the very least, this will inspire you to give it a go to scratch build your own large terrain piece. Quite a few people commented about wanting to see photographs of builds which had been started before I did my YouTube channel. So what you're seeing now are some photographs that I took at the beginning of this build. You can see that I'm using insulation foam there, and cutting that out I have used an old Nescafe pot for the tower that doesn't last the build, it changes shortly, and I've mocked it up, just held it in place with cocktail sticks there just so that at least I can see the shape and work out whether I want to cut any more foam. I've used the traditional classic pen method to score out my bricks, and then I've shaped out both the wooden underbase and also the foam to give it a little bit of a contour. Here you can see that I've changed the coffee pot for a cardboard tube for the tower, and that worked very, very well. So I've used a mix here of paint and polyfiller and water and PVA to cover it over and also to give a stronger finish. And this here is my first ever attempt at air dry clay, and it worked very well, and I've used it lots ever since. So just wrapped it around the cardboard and then marked that out with a sculpting tool. It worked very well. Next up I have sprayed that a light grey, which is going to be very nice, and I've put a second coat of the black paint and the PVA mix with the plaster over the entirety of the model. So that's as far as I got before I started doing the channel. Now we will go to live. The next process on the Ruined Watchtower is to put a bit of a grey dry brush over the inside of the courtyard and on the walls. I've got some light grey paint that I bought at the local hardware store, which I'm very much hoping is going to be suitable. So I'm sure people know how to do a dry brush by now. I'm actually doing more of an overbrush. I'm not going to take that much off, but you don't want to have too much paint on your brush. So let's get started and bring out some of this superb detail. I have done quite a heavy dry brush, which was my aim, over the entire structure, and that brings out all the detail and makes it look quite distressed. There's a long way to go, but that's a good start. With the dry brushing done on this, I will now be using the bricks which I made in my earlier vlog to fill in this gap in the top, which I've filled with paper that I've covered in black paint and PVA. So I am going to drop these in place very randomly, looking to fill up the gaps, and use PVA to hold them in place. And so I have run out of bricks that I made. I will probably be making some more using exactly the same technique as I showed in my other vlog. So rolling out some air dried DAS clay, cutting it up very roughly and then leaving it for 2 or 3 days to dry at a constant temperature so that it does not crack. But for now I'm quite happy with how that effect is going. I'm going to leave that all to dry for another couple of days and hopefully it will look good when I come back to it then. It does need a spray and it does need some more bricks, and I will need to put some bricks down here and inside in the courtyard. But yeah, I think that's working quite nicely for now. The next step on the Ruined Watchtower build is going to be to fill in the edges and to put some sculptor mould over the edges and smooth it out, and then also build up just inside here where the rubble will have fallen off the top of the tower. Now, like everyone else it seems in our hobby, I am a proud supporter of Luke's APS. He is a legend and I managed to get some of this shipped over to me. So I'm going to be making my first ever attempt at modelling compound large, and I'm going to be doing it on camera. So the directions I have taped to the top of this pot, and let's see how it goes. This hopefully will be quite easy. It seems to be easy when I see other people doing it, but we shall see. So it says 3 parts compound to 1 part water. I have a plastic cup, I have a jug of water, and I have something to mix it in. I'm going to make a small amount this time because, well, I don't want to overdo it, and I can always make more, but I have nothing at the moment to put any remainder on, and I don't like waste. I'm a little bit of a tightwad. So let's see. About half a cup. Which means 1.5 cups of water. Now, this will now from now on be used for water. I'm not that much of an idiot, I just didn't get 2 cups. What I will always do when I'm mixing things is only add a small amount. You can't take water out of a mix. You can always add more if you need to. Immediate is clear that this is not going to be enough. I've just realised 3 parts compound to 1 part water. Another clean cup, and I will get a full cupful now because I put half a cup of water in there. that's quite solid, that's quite firm. Let me just read the instructions again. A dense consistency, it says. And I think that looks like a dense consistency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what it feels like when I put it on. Maybe I haven't mixed it enough. It's like papier-mâché, this. It feels a bit too grainy, so I'm going to try and break it apart a bit more. So that's how far 1.5 cups of the modelling compound and half a cup of water will get me. That gives me an idea of how much I now need to mix up, maybe twice as much again. I'm going to go and wash my hands, turn the camera off, because it'll just be more of the same after this, and I'll come back when I've completed this and done all of the compound. But what I will say is that was very easy to use, and it goes a lot further than I expected. I didn't think that that little amount would actually go that far. So far so good. Thumbs up from me. Onwards and upwards. The modelling compound is going on very nicely. It moves very well. It doesn't have quite as long a working time as I expected. You do have to have your wits about you. What I've reached now is around here below the tower, and along this edge I want to have just the remnants of a cliff. It's only going to be a very, very small amount, maybe 20 millimeters. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how I'm going to work through that right now. How do you make rock cliffs? I'll tell you how I make them. I make them out of bark. I picked this up just outside. This has been in there for a very long time. If you're in a hurry, you can put it in the microwave, but it does need to be very dry, otherwise you'll have bits of creatures living in there, and you really don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use bark like this, and I'm going to make the cliff around my ruined watchtower. The first thing to do is to find a section of bark which is going to fit nicely where you're trying to put it. And if it's nice and dry, you can then break it off and offer it up. That works perfectly. This is going to be a very quick process. It is a very quick technique. We have another section there, and I can break that off. That will be perfect once it's painted and dry brushed. That is how I do cliffs. Next up is actually fitting the bark to the model so that it won't fall off. Now I've used many different techniques, and you're about to watch me use a new one. This is the first time, as I've said, that I'm using the Luke's APS modelling compound, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to use that to fix this in place. So first of all, you got to shove some on. All round the edge where I want this cliff to be. There we are. With that done, I'm going to press the bark in. And then to hold it in place, when I've got it where I want it to be, I'm just going to fill in the gaps a little bit more compound, and I'm really hoping that this works. It's not working so well at the moment, but I'm going to stand here, turn the camera off, and hold it until the modelling compound has gone off. I'll be back shortly. As patient as I am, I've realised that that's not going to work. So you've learnt something there. You are not going to be able to easily press bark into this modelling compound and it will stick. However, what I have done is pressed a form into the sculptor mould. So now, when that sculptor mould has gone off in a very short while, I will be able to use Gorilla Glue and will be able to stick the bark in place. And that is what I would normally have done previously. I would have used some form of strong glue, either foam glue or the Gorilla Glue, which I have now, and that will stick it in place perfectly fine. So, lesson number 1, try before you film. So the modelling compound has gone off. I have put the Gorilla Glue, used the Gorilla Glue to secure the bark and weighted it in place with these weights. So now I'm going to leave that and hopefully that will work. Just now I have been down and I have put the grey spray on the bricks, the tumble down stones at the top, and also on the little pile of stones that you can't see, which is in the courtyard. Now I will be doing more of that, but what I think I want to do next is put the ground cover around where the grass is going to go. You can see here a very big bucket that says Builder's Sand number 1. Now I'll go into that in another video, but very briefly I have 4 different sieves and a big pile of sand outside from the renovation which is currently going on. And what I do is I sift that sand, standard builder sand, for each of the 4 sieves, and I'll often do it while I'm watching a video or something online, and that is where I get my numbers from. Number 1 is the smallest sifted, and underneath my bench I've got numbers 2, 3 and 4. I use number 1 the most, I use it for all my basing, and this is what I'm about to do now. The second element of my basing technique is this filthy looking tub of peanut butter. This is a mix of chocolate brown paint, PVA, water, and again a dash of washing up liquid just to keep it flowing and to stop it from going off, because I've had this for years. I just keep refreshing it. So what I'll do is I will paint it on this area and then sprinkle sand on it. It's the same technique you've seen many people use many times. So here goes. So with that side done, I will now carefully pick this up and empty it back into my big bucket of sand. Carefully being the most important word there. Very interesting process. You might not be able to see, you probably can now. I've missed a bit. there you have it. I will now leave that to go off again overnight. I won't touch that again now until it's completely dry, and I will probably invite you back to the next step, which is going to be putting more of the same colour over the top of the sand that I've just scattered. I am now going to tidy up and get started for something else. I think I have some time this evening. The paint and sand mix on my Ruined Watchtower has dried overnight and now is ready for another coat of the same paint that I used underneath the sand. I'll put that over the top again, and that will give me the nice dark brown colour, which is what I prefer for most of my terrain. So I'm going to crack on with that. While I'm doing that, I'm watching the Top Table Community Hobby Vlog by Ben Pearson, who was the person I picked to do the vlog after my one, and that is going to be on while I'm doing this, so it's a great pleasure to see that, Ben. I'm really enjoying it, and that will be playing while I do the fast forward section while I'm doing this terrain painting. So thank you, Ben. It's a crack. Ben, who is doing a cracking job, really enjoying that video, because I've just finished putting all of the brown on the bottom, on the base around the Ruined Watchtower. This is now going to go out to my drying area again, and I will return to this tomorrow probably, or the next day, whenever it is. But when I do, you can be sure that I will invite you along. The next step for the Ruined Watchtower is going to be putting some flocks. These are my homemade ones, made with sifted sand, paint and PVA, and covering the outside of the building with some grass and other undergrowth. So I have just mixed up some 50-50 PVA and water with a little dollop of dishwasher liquid, washing up liquid, to keep it from going off. And what I will now do is set the camera up so that you can watch as I paint and fill this in. So this will be quite a quick process. A big brush, well watered down PVA. you have it. I've put 3 different shades of grass. The contrast will look very nice, and this doesn't have to be the final time that I put any undergrowth on this. Indeed, there's a lot more to go on this build before it will be even nearly finished, so you have a long way to go with me. The next thing will be to leave this to dry. I only have a very short amount of time for hobbying today, so I've come up and rushed through this. I need to go down and be a daddy for Rosie for my evening time. So now this is done, I'm going to turn this all off. But the next thing will be to work on the cliff. I want to show you how I will do that, and I will also be sealing the rest of this board with the sprayed on glue, and I will do that off camera another time, because as I say, I have a little rush on now. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you're enjoying watching me put together this ruined watchtower. With the flock now dry enough, what I'm going to do is start working on the cliff face. So the first thing is black paint. Dry and come back with the next step. My task for this evening is to put some dry brushing and highlights onto this rock face, which I have painted black. So I have a couple of different shades of house paint, grey house paint. First of all, I have this dark grey, which I will start with, and then have the lighter grey. And then later on I'll do it with some white. A big brush, big soft bristled brush, dip it in, take most of it off and swipe it over. This is not new to anyone watching this channel, I am sure. That's a bit of a better view. Apologies. I like to go quite heavy on this first lighter grey, so that the black is really just in the shadows. So it's more than a dry brush, it's more of an overbrush. I think that it's a Mel Twain should have termed that, at least that's where I first heard it. Overbrushing, heavier than dry brushing, lighter than full brushing. Okay, so I think that'll do. I won't bother cleaning my brush. And this is the good thing with this, is you really don't have to worry too much about waiting for it to dry. And this is a lighter than the black, so this is a lighter dry brush than the darker grey. There we are, that was easy as well for me to say. But it should just bring out all the details. There we are, it's easy. And what I'll now do is get a little bit of white and do the same thing. Tiny bit of white. Almost nothing on. All coming off. All coming off. So now, and there you have it. Just going to put a little bit of white right at the tops. There's not even any grey on that. Just the white right on the top, where the light will catch it most. And we're done. That is how easy it is to do rock with bark. It's all there for you. The next process on this, which is going to be the last for tonight, is to put some more sealant across all the flock. Now I could put some more colours on or put some more textures on, but I think I'm going to seal this and then come back later after I've sealed it to add the stones and the talus and some more of the bricks that have tumbled down around here. So I have my Sif bottle, and if you look at the top of that, I have it covered over with cling film, And inside there I have a couple of ball bearings, or marbles actually, glass marbles, which I put in when I first made this about 2 years ago now, and this is a never-ending bottle, so when it comes close I will add some more PVA and some more water and some more washing up liquid and give it a good shake, and it never goes off because I keep the cling film over the top of it, and I can then spray away. And there you have it. I will now let that go off and I will tidy up my bench for the next project, but the next project will not be this one. We'll find out what it is when I decide. After the covering of PVA and water, I left this to dry for about 2 days. So now it is very dry and it is ready for the next stage. Now what I'm going to do, I have quite a lot yet to do on this build, but what I'm going to do now is the first pass of some of the more 3D elements of the undergrowth and scatter. So I'm going to put some homemade bushes on, and I'm also going to use a static grass applicator to put some static grass around. Now this is probably not going to be the last time I do it on this. What I'm going to be focusing on is where I'm going to then have other items on top, so maybe more bricks or more rubble, and what I would like to have is underneath that some grass, so it looks like the rubble has fallen on top of pre-grown grass rather than it being all around the edges and not looking very natural. So I will get myself set up, I will show you what materials I'm going to use, and then I will get static grassing and flocking. First thing I'm going to do is apply static grass. Now there's lots and lots of static grass applicators on the market, but the one that I bought a long time ago, I believe I was one of the first ever to buy one of these, is the World War Scenics manufacturer, and it's the Pro Grass applicator. Now this has worked really well for me so far. I actually did have a problem with it and contacted them, and they fixed it and sent it back to me for free, and that gets a big thumbs up. So when you get good service from a company, you're much more likely to purchase more of their stuff and recommend it to people. I have at the back here a variety of different static grasses. All of them are also purchased from World War Scenics. I have 6mm summer, I have 2mm spring, I have some 4mm patchy, which is what I'm going to use on this, and then I've just opened this. I've had it for a while, but I've not put it used it yet, which is a very short hay, looks about 2 or 3mm maybe, so a short hay as well. So what I think I'm going to do is use the patchy and the hay, and then maybe some of the longer summer static as well, so we're building this up. I also do recommend, and I use their own glue, which I didn't get out. The reason I recommend this is it's very tacky, very fast, and it seems to do the actual static better than normal PVA. So I only use that for this process. So let's get started. So to begin with, I have put a handful of the patchy grass at 4mm, and it does clump. This again, I've had this for years. I bought it a long time ago, but it should still come out quite successfully. I'm using the smallest, finest sieve they gave me, and I do this in very small stages. First of all, we get the glue and we apply it where we want to apply it. So because you're watching, and this is going to be detailed, I'm going to do it around here, which is where I want to have some. Okay, now that I've got an area of glue, I will apply the static grass. Now the way I do this is, let me make sure that can focus, is I actually have a dressmaker's pin that is stuck in, and I have it clamped always in my little, in the crocodile clip on the end of the wire. And that's how I've done it all the time, and it works very well because it allows me just to touch it into the glue, turn on the static grass applicator, and do my thing. And there it is. The next step is my trusty handheld vac, and I will now vacuum up, and then I'll be able to recycle, because it will go into this clean vacuum cleaner, the static grass. I've done my first coat of the patchy static grass, and now I have put a bunch of the summer static grass in, and I'm going to do that while you're watching. I will do this speeded up just so that you can watch another technique for keeping clear. If you don't have one of those handy vacs, this will show you your option. I've done a quick cover. What I will do, shake it upside down. It goes onto the cloth underneath, onto the newspapers. And then you can either pick it up by hand if you're still in the middle of working like I am. And also I'm struggling a bit with this, it's very much clumped, so I'm going to break it apart. So that will then mean I can just carry on straight away. Okay, so we'll say that that's done. So again, turn it upside down. Put this out of the way. And then what you do is you carefully pick it up. Use the fold of the newspaper and tip it back in your container. And you may need to do it both ways. There we are. And then the final sheet. And now you've saved anything that was not securely glued. Can now be reused. I'm going to carry on with this and turn the camera off again, and I'll come back when I'm finished. This has taken me a lot longer than I thought it would, as these things sometimes do, so I've got to stop now because we have other things to get on with today. However, I've done 3 colours, and you can see it makes quite a nice effect. And there's a lot more to go. This is only the first of the applications, so there's 3 colours, 3 different lengths. And it really is starting to take shape. But for now I'm going to have to call this, and hopefully I'll get back later on today to do some more work on this building. Hello and welcome to my spray painting area. I am about to do some painting with some spray cans, and as you see, safety first. Get yourself one of these if you don't have one already. That stuff, that aerosol stuff, is very, very nasty. So let's turn the camera around. Now I've given you the health and safety lesson. Point it at the bench and do some spraying. We're back to the Ruined Watchtower, and I have made a batch more of the bricks in the same way as I made them before, and this time I've spray painted them not on the miniature, because it'll make it easier for me to not overspray. And what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to pile up some of them around this area here initially, and potentially on the other side around there, because the tower would not just have fallen inside the building, which I did previously, but it would also have fallen outside. And I do actually have some more to put on the inside as well. So you can watch me do that. I will go to speed up. I'll play some Pooky. I know that you must all love that song by now. I need to find something else to add to these videos. If anyone has any music that they've made themselves, that they want to appear on the beard clipper, please let me know, send me a message.
Rasta. I was left here with my yesterdays, always thinking what I'd thrown away.
There we are, that looks quite efficient and effective. It's quite a brutal methodology I've got here. I'm just slopping the glue on and not really thinking about it, but it will work. The glue will dry nice and solid. Maybe I'll have to do another covering. So let's move this round and start going around the front. Now, I think here the bricks or the rocks would probably have fallen off the edge of the cliff, so we won't bother with that bit. What I will do is around here.
And I see it, and I realize I'm the one.
That's enough for there. I want that to deliberately be sparse. I'm quite pleased with how the one more there, with how the grasses are there, so I don't want to overwhelm that bit. So now what we'll do is we'll turn this round again, and you can see that we have the rubble inside. I will now build it up with the remainder.
Really had it all. And I see it, and I realize now. And I see it, and I realize you really can feel if you want it. You really can bleed if you want it. You really can hurt if you want it. You really can be if you want it now.
So that will do. I've deliberately not come very far forwards because I don't really want to take up much of the playing space inside. I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to let that to go off, and we'll come back, and I think the next thing will possibly to have some greenery, to put a platform here so that people can, this window here becomes usable, and it's very close to finished. I'm really pleased with it so far. I hope that you're enjoying this build and liking to see how these sorts of things come together in my head and on my table. So thanks for watching again.